So let me now recognize the gentleman from Alabama.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Warren, Professor Warren, I've been reading your interviews with different news organizations, and you've said sometimes that one of the first things you'll do is, and just tell me of these different things, what you see as maybe priorities. You've testified you want to eliminate the most destructive practices, high-risk products. You want to establish minimum safety standards, is that correct? Is two of the different things you want to do?
Yes, Congressman.
How, and then I think one of the third one was to require lenders to make pure vanilla or standardized financial products available. What is that?
Actually, Congressman, no. I've never suggested requiring anything of anyone.
Oh, okay.
What I've suggested is that an agency that offers plain vanilla products a safe harbor on regulation. That is, if you'll use an off-the-shelf page-and-a-half credit card agreement, one-page mortgage agreement,
oh, okay.
then
you're
have
exempted
met
from
all regulatory obligations at that point, making it cheap for you and easy for the consumer to understand.
What are some of the most destructive high-risk practices or products that you see?
Well, actually, I found it interesting that you listed those as separate entities. The real point, in my view, is when customers can't follow what you're doing. I regard it as extremely destructive, as high risk, when you dump 30 pages on a customer and you call that a credit card contract. And when the customer, only after the customer has used the credit card, discovers terms in it when those terms are charged against the customer, I think that's extremely destructive. I think it's destructive to show up at a mortgage closing and be handed literally hundreds of pages that are all stickered with sign here, sign here, sign here, and the advice, you can't read it. I think that's destructive. I think it's destructive when there are changes over time, when you're quoted one price on a mortgage, but when you show up after you've already sold your house, after you've already got all the furniture in the moving truck, and told that the interest rates will be different or that there are prepayment penalties, I think those are very destructive practices.
Well, other than disclosing them, though, would you stop some of those practices?
No, the point is, Congressman, as I see it, it's not about disclosing them. That's really the whole point here. We have now played the game over and over and over of add 10 more paragraphs, 4 more pages, 20 more pages.
Well, let me say this.
That is not disclosure.
But what you're saying, I understand what, but would you actually choose the terms?
No.
Or would you just require? You'd either have to just require.
I'm not interested in I'm not interested in picking terms. What I'm interested in is putting terms
would be
out
destructive.
where
some practices
customers
would be destructive.
can pick them. Well, let me put it this way, Congressman. I was testifying a year and a half ago in the Senate when one of the senators asked the principal officer testifying for one of the major banks to explain double cycle billing. And the person from the bank started, stopped, moved over, started again, stopped, finally laughed and said, I can't do it. Well, my view is if you can't explain it, then you probably shouldn't sell it to customers. I think that's destructive.
So that would be one of the principles.
Yeah, that would be a key principle for me.
But what about some of these high-risk products? What if you could explain it, but what if the terms were bad? Would you prevent those?
Well, my view is we used to do this by usury laws. We simply said, there's a cap, there it is. And as a result, there was no reason to develop a business model.
Is that sort of what you want to return to?
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There was no reason to develop a business model that put tricks and traps in back and you pretended to compete on things that weren't real. So we have two choices going forward. One alternative is you could return to a day of usury caps, just saying we've done it with the American family. We're through robbing them. The second way we can do it is we can do it through an agency. I've also sat in these hearings time after time.
But the agency, what would the agency do?
Well, this is what we just talked about. The agency could say if you'll issue a page-and-a-half credit card contract that is readable, a one-page mortgage that is readable. Make the blanks clear, the interest rate, the penalty rate, what triggers a penalty, and how you get your free gift. If you'll put those in bold where someone could read them, you're relieved of other regulatory obligations, and now the consumer can make a good choice. That's meaningful choice, I believe.
So you're not going to want to set anything. You're just going to want to require these
let me just, we'll only have time for the gentleman to make a final comment, so without being a question, do you have a final comment? We're over the time.
Well, this would apply to consumer loans too. Would it? How about bank fees? Would they, as long as they reveal those?
Well, I'm sorry, but we're way over time. We can't get into a new dialogue. I just said the gentleman could wrap up. But my sense is that Professor Warren, if she wants to answer the question, will find some opportunity to do so later on within her allotted time. Gentleman from California.